Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm Janet Noonan. I'm your PTSA president, and I want to welcome you to this seminar, Understanding Teen Stress and Anxiety.
Tyler.
This idea came about as we considered our focus for the year as we advocate for all children here at Monte Vista. I want to thank Principal Ahern for all of the support and help in this seminar. Next month, we are screening the second part of this series, which is a film titled Angst. So look for information on that from me. We all live with such stress, which creates anxiety, and we were curious to explore this subject to see what we as parents contribute to the epidemic among our children, what students bring on themselves, and what we can all do to try to alleviate at least some of it. We've put together a panel of 3 speakers who will shed light tonight on the various aspects of this topic to do with their particular expertise. We have Dr. Richard Houston, founder of Achievement Psych, exploring stress in the achievement context. We have Sean Donohue, founder of Parenting Modern Teens, exploring how parents can better engage with their children. And we have Judy, Kobsar, Pearson, nutritionist and holistic health coach of Wellness Method, talking about simple nutritional adjustments and mind-body practices. Each speaker will talk for 20 minutes. For our last half hour, with the goal of finishing at 8:30, we will entertain questions from the audience using the index cards that you were given as you came in. I will mediate this discussion, choosing cards to ask the speakers. Please put their names on the card if it is a specific question for them. We will not get to all the questions, but each speaker will end the evening in the front lobby on that side, where they will be able to entertain your questions and give their handouts to you. If you need a card, raise your hand because we have one. Okay. With that, I now introduce our first speaker, Mary.
Thank you. Is this working okay? Okay. All right. So here's what we'll do this evening. We're going to take a look at some of the data related to anxiety for high school students. Then we're going to talk about some of the psychological issues that are related to anxiety and to what we need to address in order to manage it effectively. And finally, there are some specific recommendations for parents. I thought there might be some students in there. Okay, thank you. All right. All right, we're going to start in New Haven. I grew up outside New Haven, so it's a good place to start. Last January, they had a psychology professor offer a course on happiness and had 25% of the entire undergraduate population sign up. And the quotation, I think, is telling. Yale students are interested because in high school they had to deprioritize their happiness to gain admission, adopting harmful life habits that have led to the mental health crises we're seeing at places like Yale. I live in Palo Alto, and 2 or 3 years ago, there was a high school student who was an elected representative to the school board, and she published a letter in the local newspaper, and here's part of it. We're the product of a generation so desperately wanting to succeed, but the community does not understand our needs. Students are gasping for air, lacking the time to draw a measly breath. We're not teenagers, we're lifeless bodies in a system that breeds competition. So this is a student expressing herself, which is obviously very difficult to listen, patients. The trick about stress is for our children and for us is whether it's resolvable. We never want to be, or we never want to put our children in situations where stressful situations are not resolvable. If you live in a neighborhood where you get beat up every day on the way to school or on the way home, that's an irresolvable problem. And that's why people get stressed, and that's why people get anxious. Generally speaking, anxiety is debilitating when it emerges from the belief that we are not in control of our destiny. The degree to which individuals are in control in the behavioral science business is known as locus of control. Anybody know who this is? Yasiel Puig, a superstar outfielder for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He was in the World Series, and he's licking his bat. And when we have low locus of control, we get superstitious. We get anxious, and we can come up with mechanisms to try to manage our anxiety. And so there's a lot of magical thinking that goes on when we feel like we're not in control. Now, the funny thing is about baseball is that when the players take the field, there's nothing. No magical thinking, no superstition, because they succeed 98 or 99% of the time. But at bat, they only get a hit once every 4 times at bat. So when kids are not, when they don't feel like they're in control, that's when it's difficult and it's challenging. We had another item that said it's a mental game achievement. You can only go as far as you think you can. 87% of our respondents agreed. So basically our job as parents is to help develop a mental game plan for our kids so that they can move in the direction of greater control over their destiny. Okay, this is one of the headlines of the presentation. Behavioral science clearly demonstrates that the mastery of specific skills enhances success. And so what we need to be doing is trying to help our students create a well-defined plan so that they feel like they can move in the direction of gaining more control over their future and their destiny. Thanks. This is just a screenshot of the home page at Achievement Psych, and I'm just doing this to point out a couple of things. You see the menu on the top there, and there's a section for parents, there's a section for students. You can go through both of them. What I really want to spend a minute on is this. I strongly encourage you to look at some of these slides in the neuropsych section. The red part is known as the prefrontal cortex. The human brain does not mature until our mid-20s. Physiologically, it's not mature until our mid-20s. So if you're 17 or 18, you're dealing with a brain that is in the process of maturing. Personally, I was a lousy student in high school. That's a funny story. But when I got to graduate school, I felt like, I can study and I can write at this point. And so it's very important to understand something about the neuropsychology of teenage years. And I encourage you to go to the site, and I encourage you to take a look. One of the most important things for parents and students to understand
is some of the incredible, I mean incredible stuff coming out of neuroscience research. I mean, it's as good as watching your favorite TV show. It's better. There is an amazing set of research showing that brains are adaptable in mind-boggling ways. There's a guy named David Eagleman who arrived at Stanford a couple of years ago. His show, he has a 6-part series on PBS called The Brain. They just did episode 2. This is my 3rd time through it. They're about to do episode 3, which is the best episode, next week. So check it out. It's called The Brain by David Eagleman. And among other things, he's going to talk about how he helps blind people learn to see through their back. So check that out. If we can demonstrate with clarity to high school students this is amazing adaptability, they will move toward a belief in the growth mindset. How many people have heard of growth mindset? Yeah, so lots of people have heard of it. It's basically a belief in our capacity to learn and adapt. And I'm going to give you a good example of that. Thank you. A guy named Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia got a bunch of freshman kids who did poorly in their early tests in their first month or 2 of their freshman year. I can speak from experience on this. I arrived in Providence, Rhode Island at age 18 to be a freshman. And at the end of my first semester, the registrar at Brown University had the audacity to send me a report that I had a 1.75 grade point average. That's 3 C's and a D. This is a picture I copied from the Stanford Resilience Project website. And you should know that every single year at Stanford, they have a special day dedicated to the theme, Stanford, I Screwed Up. So to deal with some of the embarrassment and the self-criticism that we saw in the earlier data, we have to be able to say, screwing up is cool. You know? And I certainly learned a heck of a lot in my second semester about how to work, about how to study. So, what Wilson did was he found a lot of students who did poorly on their first exam. And here's what happens. This is a basic framework for cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the dominant modality in psychology these days. Okay? It's basically what everybody buys into. And so the event here is I got a 1.75. Or I got a C or a D on my exam. Now, parents, this is true for us too. This ain't just about kids. This is true for us. All of us are in this loop. Students have one of 2 ways of interpreting this. Group A interprets it by saying, I'm not smart. Now, if you believe you're not smart enough, the meaning that is derived from that interpretation is that I probably don't belong. And if I think I'm not smart enough, and I don't belong here, you can imagine what happens here. The behavior that emerges from that is it's like, hey, I ain't going to make it. I'm going home next semester, so why bother? Group B says, I haven't figured this out yet. So this is an absolutely critical point for parents to understand. How can we help young achievers create those alternative interpretations such that they are going to derive a meaning, so that the meaning that they derive from this is that I've got to work, I've got to bust my behind. I've got to really get it in gear. And so if you believe that I haven't figured this out yet, and I've got to learn how to do it, then the behavioral output is going to be much greater dedication. Anybody see the movie Awakenings with Robin Williams? Anybody seen it? It's a really cool movie. It's about a guy named Oliver Sacks. And so this whole process, results in a narrative. And you can see it. We each have an inner narrative. Each of us constructs and lives this narrative. And the narrative is us. I've got to go quickly here. This is a guy from the UK, a guy named Fernie. We spin narratives about ourselves to make sense of who we are. We are the cacophony of our mental voices. They construct us. This narrative, and again, the same is true for us. You know, whether you're 18, whether you're 28, whether you're 38, or whether you're older. This is pretty much what's going on with our high school kids. What's going on inside their head? They're trying to figure out, okay, where does this next steel beam go? Do I have a blueprint here? Do I have a plan? And that's what we need to be able to influence. We need to be able to help them create a plan for themselves and learn the kind of skills that are going to be helpful in being able to determine their destiny and to determine their future. What can parents do? First of all, if you go through the neuropsych section, it's one of the conclusions is we need to help them maintain consistent exercise habits because what exercise does for the human brain is extraordinary. There's a video by a guy named Brady on the site that you can look at. We need to help them make sure they get enough sleep. You've heard about that. And their experience in nature is just remarkably soothing for all of us, not just kids. We as parents need to share social comparison experiences of our own to help teens understand that it's not just them. It's not just going on in their head, it's going on in our head too. And sometimes we come out with negative interpretation. And we need to model how to come up with alternative interpretations like Group A and Group B in the Wilson research. And hopefully we can, with our kids, collaborate on shaping a constructive self-narrative. Now for the few kids who are here, I want you to believe in your brain's amazing ability to adapt. If you really believe that, you're on track. Believe in your ability to acquire skills that will help you determine your future. Learn how to generate alternative interpretations. Learn how. And summon your best personal coaches. Go into your memory bank of your personal history and summon your best personal coaches to help shape that narrative. The people who are most encouraging. The people who give you hope when you are discouraged. And we've got to help kids believe that they are durable and resilient because life will put them on their derriere. And we all know that because it's happened to all of us. I would tell my kids, it's not a question of if you're going to end up on your derriere, your backside. It's a question of when, and it's a question of what you do. So I want to share from someone who's my age, ancient history, that when you look back on that chaotic construction scene that we saw before, a decade or more later, some of the results can look like that. And that's what that building turned out. And I frequently wonder at how my kids turned out so successful. I'm just in awe, and I'm very thankful and grateful. Thank you very much.
Janet? Thank you. And Sean?
We're going to move the table, if that's okay, just because the lights that are over here. Okay. You guys didn't know this was part of the act. This is the entertainment break.
My grandchildren. I didn't think we were going. If you can just get out of this. Oh, is that? I'm sorry. It's not this. I'm working on it.
Good evening, guys. How's it going?
Hey, Sean.
Yeah.
Where's your slideshow?
It should be up next. Movie star Jennifer Lawrence, star of the Hunger Games, very famous. Jennifer Lawrence is a badass. She is awesome on screen, and she is tough and powerful off screen. Chris Evans stars as Captain America in the movies and in the Marvels. What a stud. Very powerful actor, a great story. Everyone knows Taylor Swift. She is so great on camera. She's a storyteller. She's a genius. You would think of all the people in the world, there's no way these three people would struggle with anxiety. So it's a really good thing for all of us, especially for teenagers, when they come out and they each talk about their struggle with anxiety. It's so great hearing Jennifer Lawrence say, you know, when I started going to middle school, it's like a light in me went off. And looking at her story, how does somebody overcome that? Chris Evans was talking about anxiety in an interview, and about how he struggles with it every day. And he said, you know what really gives me anxiety? And the interviewer's like, what? He's like, getting promotional interviews. Taylor Swift has been quoted as saying, you know, anxiety for me is so tough, if I let it, it will just overcome me. I've been working with teenagers for 20 years. I was that guy, 20 years of that camp counselor that went by the nickname Hooch, which is a dog name from an Amazing 80s movie, Turner and Hooch, starring Tom Hanks. Anybody? Turner and Hooch? Yeah. And I was that long-haired guy from San Diego, loved working with kids. Like, what am I going to do with my life? Am I going to be a school teacher, a school counselor? Am I going to be a therapist? And nobody really talked about anxiety back then. You know, if you were to ask me what I felt when I was a sophomore in high school, and I really liked Cassie Marks, and I wanted her to like me, and we're at homecoming, I'm like, does she like me, or does she like Jason Burney? And I'm like, I don't know, she's not really giving me that vibe right now. I probably felt anxiety, but I sure wouldn't say I feel anxiety. So, like, this generation is so different than us. They talk about their feelings a lot, some of them. And some of them don't talk at all. You guys with me? Do you have kids? I can see that. So, I'm not here to really tell you and talk and focus in this 20 minutes about what causes anxiety. I mean, by this point, we know a lot. You should know. Everyone should know what really causes anxiety. I'm going to here to tell you about how I help people, teenagers, overcome their anxiety and manage their anxiety. I have a little slice here. We don't have our clicker, so I'm going to do like this right here. So my name is Sean Donohue. I started a family coaching business in this area about 4 or 5 years ago, coaching teenagers in their homes. We don't have an office. We don't want an office. We coach them in life skills, in EQ skills, emotional quotient. We teach them how to have a conversation, how to talk, how to connect with their parents. And I did a lot of public speaking. I took a break last year to really take care of myself from public speaking. Some of you might have come to my seminars at different middle schools and high schools and elementary schools around here. It was fantastic. It was great. I had like a 10-person waiting list, and I'm like, wow, we are onto something here. We developed, now we have a coaching firm called Parenting Modern Teens. We coach teens to become mature, responsible, successful young adults, and we show parents how to actually parent your modern teen into maturity and responsibility. Good things. These are some pictures of me. Most of the speaking I do now is through parents. I love talking to parents. I still do some school assemblies. This is my family here. My oldest is an 8th grader. And so, it's a little side. So what I found, that generally speaking, so I remember when I started reading about anxiety and studying it, I remember thinking like, okay, it was about 8 years ago we started really hearing a lot about anxiety, give or take, right? And I started reading a lot about it. And I was really concerned because I love kids, right? I'm like, this is hard. Like, there's so many kids that are like feeling anxious and depressed. I mean, so many kids that are like, do they need to go to therapy? Man, therapy is so expensive. I started meeting kids that were in therapy, and they're in therapy for like 2, 3, 4 months, and they're still not getting any better. They're still not changing. And then I'm reading all these reports, like, you know what the doctor here mentioned about out of San Diego State. A book came out last year, iGen, an amazing book, lots of reports, lots of research. And I'm like, wondering, what can we do as parents? Because sending our kid to a therapist isn't a sustainable program. They're so expensive. Plus, like, do we just send every kid to a therapist in the world? So I started listening. I started talking to teenagers. I started learning. I started coaching. I started trying some things. And what I have observed, what I'm here to tell you, is that what I observed, in my opinion, is that teenagers need these 8 life skills. And if they can conquer and master these skills, they are in a good position to overcome anxiety. And I'm going to use that word overcome because let's make it clear. This might be a little bold to say, but this is what I believe to be true. The majority of kids that are in this room now go to the school and are represented by us parents here today. They can overcome anxiety. They can say, I struggle with it, but I learned how to overcome it. I don't struggle with it anymore. But what I also believe is true is that there are some of us adults, and there are some teenagers that will not be able to overcome it. That it will possibly be a lifelong struggle with them. And so their mission is to manage anxiety. We want to teach our kids to overcome it, or we want to teach our kids to manage it. We want to teach our kids to manage anxiety so it doesn't manage them. Chris Evans says, I haven't overcome anxiety, but if you look at his life, he's clearly learned how to manage it. It's like this. So here's some, we don't have time in this, I have 15 minutes left to go through these 8, so I'm really going to focus on 2 or 3. And I'm going to tell you a few stories, including a story of a huge, giant, amazing Monte Vista guy, student, who I recently have helped him overcome these very serious, anxious feelings and thoughts that he's had using some of the things listed on the board. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so I'm not going to focus on diet. We have a doctor named Judy, or we have a health coach coming up named Judy. She's going to focus on diet. I know when I spoke for several years in the freshman health classes here at Monte Vista with Miss Briggs and Mr. Greenlist, I would see the crap these kids are eating on a regular basis. The Doritos, which are so good. They are good. Cool Ranch, that's good too. And the candy, and the sugars, and the crap. High school is about learning. Now, we learn all types of important things in high school. You're going to learn about math, history, science. But we need to make it clear to our young people that this time of high school, especially, is about learning life skills, getting ready for college. Now, of these 8 things, I want to make it clear, I don't think there's any teenagers, and I'm going to rephrase that. I don't think there's very many teenagers at Monte Vista who have mastered these 8. And that's okay. They're in high school. There's a lot of adults. We're still struggling with some of these things. But as parents, we are teachers. Parents are teachers. So I'm telling you to teach you these 8 things to your kids. That's your job. That's your job as a parent. You're a teacher. Is there a class here at Monte Vista that's going to focus on diet and exercise? No. Who's going to teach them about that? Well, this is the parent's job. Exercise. Doesn't need to be just regular exercise. It means hiking in the hills. These beautiful hills up here. You know, when we were growing up, we were riding our bikes around. We were getting outside. Do you know, check this out, this is crazy. Do you know, you can Google this, that prison inmates spend more time outside than the average American teenager? What were we? Kids need to be exercising, they need to be out, they need to be in nature. We know from science, it's proven that these things are good. They release endorphins, dopamine, they help overcome anxious feelings. We need to teach our kids to balance healthy diet and exercise. Next slide, please. Saying no is a very important life skill. It is a very important. Is there a class at Monte Vista about the power and the importance of saying no? Is there a class? No, that's correct. No. Whose job is it to teach them the power of no? Some of our kids, they need to say no to that dating relationship. They need to say no to that app. They need to say no to that AP course. They need to say no instead of taking 5 dance classes a week. They need to say no, and they need to take 2. Every no means you're saying yes to something else. I was in San Quentin prison about 10 years ago, not as an inmate, I was volunteering. And I played basketball against the inmates for about 12 years. I'd bring some buddies in, we'd mentor the guys, tell some stories, do some cool stuff. And I'm walking out, and I see one of the main leaders of the San Francisco 49ers organization. And we're chatting with him, he says, Sean, you should come on to the Niners, well, the Warriors actually are going to start. You should come on and be the chaplain of the Golden State Warriors this year. I'll help you with it. And I'm a 26-year-old dude, and I love the Warriors, and I'm playing it cool, right? Playing it cool. I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, I just got married, I got a kid coming, but yeah, Earl, that's a good idea. I think I'd like to do that. But on the inside, I'm freaking out, right? I'm about to be a leader on the Golden State Warriors. I'm going to mentor the players. I'm going to be there to support them in their marriages. I'm going to be there to support them when they're feeling anxious. This is fantastic. This is like a dream come true. Imagine like if you love music. You know, you have a favorite band, and someone's asking you to not be in the band, but you get to like mentor and hang out with the people in the band. This is great. I went home and I thought about it. And the answer was clear. The answer was no. No. I called him up and said, no, I can't do that. Why? Because I need to take care of myself. I need to figure out how to be a husband, how to be a father. I had some personal issues I was going through. We need to teach our kids the power of no. Next slide, please. Do me a favor. Some women right now, stand up, go back, and just stand up and yell, you suck, Sean. Just yell that for me. Just, come on, help me out. Somebody stand up and yell that. You suck, Sean. Whoa. Go. Now yell out and say, Monte Vista sucks. All right. Let's say that actually happened. That's never happened when I spoke, but probably people think it is. Am I going to let that ruin my day? The answer is no. Why? Because I'm not going to give my power away to those people. Teaching our kids the power of no means teaching them that we're not going to give our power away. We're not going to let a teacher giving a surprise quiz ruin our day. I was talking to a mom just right before I came up here, and her son wanted to play football here at Monte Vista. And he decided not to because he was so afraid of dropping a ball in those anxious feelings. Teaching them the power of no means I'm not going to let me dropping a ball, me being imperfect, I'm not going to give my power away. Whose job is it to teach these kids these life skills? Whose job is it? Next slide, please. Now we already know we're not going to focus on Saying no means sometimes us using our parental power to teach them, but also to make sure we're not enabling them. We're not enabling a dysfunctional home environment. If you have a kid and you're concerned about their diet and you feed them crap, and they don't exercise, they have a crappy diet, they don't go outside, they don't go on hikes, and they play Fortnite all day, I have a feeling your kid is going to be struggling with anxiety. So you could go and send your kid to a therapist, or you can send them to me. All of us are very expensive, and we can talk to your kid. We will coach your kid. We will support you. Or you could look in the mirror and say, what can I do to support my kid in my home right now? Next slide, please. Saying no is powerful. I remember one of my buddies, school assembly speaker also, he stood up at a school, very close to here, and he said, you know, your parents care more about your mental health than they do your academic health. Did you know what happened, y'all? You know what happened? They laughed at him. He was done. Assembly over. They laughed at him. As in nah man, you're not with us, you don't understand this. We need to send a message most of us here, we believe in education. I strongly believe in education. I have a master's degree, but I want to make it clear to all the young people, and you need to make it clear to them, we value you, your mental health, your emotional health, and this family more than we do your academic health. And when your kid is thriving on the insides, like self-talk, what you talked about, having good food and diet, having a well-balanced life, managing Fortnite, managing YouTube, having a healthy relationship with screens, learning how to talk to their parents about their feelings, having healthy friends in their life. When they have that balance in their life, those life skills, they will most likely be showing signs of maturity and not struggling with anxiety and depression. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. We already went to the angry woman and man. I mean, really, I said woman, and you're getting in there too? Next slide. Let's see. Selflessness and caring. We won't talk about this much. We need to teach our kids the power of caring for others. You know, in NA, one of the steps is to go out there and start serving other people. There is so much power. You have an anxious kid who's struggling with some things, just right there. Just start focusing on those things. Son, would you like to work on overcoming your anxiety? Yes. Okay, well, you're going to have to make some changes in your life. Are you willing to make that changes? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. Well, I want you to start hiking more. With me. No, that's dumb. Do you know that in Sweden, doctors are not prescribing nature to help people overcome anxiety and depression? They say, I want you to hike 2 times a day for 5 days. I know this works because this is how I and my team show people to overcome anxiety and depression. Is we coach them in these life skills. Grit. Again, we don't have time to talk about that. It's a very important life skill. I had to practice grit just today. Getting up and doing public speaking is scary. Does anybody else? It's not like your favorite thing? Had to push through. I had to push through. I had to go up here and stay up here and tell you about Jennifer Lawrence. Grit means pushing through those tough, scary moments inside. You telling your teenagers stories of grit, stories of failure, stories of how you had a hard time and you failed, you suffered. Telling them about celebrities like I just told you, stories of grit helps foster and nurture grit in them. It's a very important life skill. Next slide, please. Now I want to focus on intimate sharing. I actually have 2 handouts to hand out to you. I think Michelle and a couple other people are going to help me hand them out. Intimate sharing. One of the most important life skills that every human needs to have, I will model it right now. What's your name? John, can I ask you a question? All right, can you guys see what I'm doing right here? Hey John, thanks for meeting up with me at Sideboards. You say something, John. Don't you love their Brussels sprouts. Yeah, John, I've been going through some stuff. I just want to talk to you about it, Thanks, man. Yeah, I always love talking with you. I know when we were fishing last week, that was cool. So now we're eating Brussels sprouts. They're kind of expensive, but it's good to be here. Thanks, John. Good job, John. Do you guys agree that's an important life skill? Just sitting down with a human being and saying, let's talk. Now, we have a dynamic here, is that some of your kids don't talk, so we need to teach them how to talk. My prediction is that here at Monte Vista, soon, hopefully sooner than later, they're going to be teaching our kids how to talk, how to communicate. This piece of paper that you're going to be seeing in a couple minutes, we need to teach them how to communicate. There's a charter school in London. Every day, these kids, these little okay, what am I doing right now? Kindergarten kids, they practice talking with other kids. These little kids are like, I don't agree with your stance on that, but I do respect your opinion. Teaching them how to communicate. How much time do we have? I lost track. Is my time up? A minute. This piece of paper is a tool for you. My team and I, and Sean is here as one of our coaches in the nice red sweater, we've actually never given this document away for free. But we wanted to make sure you got something here tonight to take home. The school is not going to teach your kids how to communicate well, how to have grit. This is something you learn in the home. Now, the majority of learning actually happens in the home. So you are used to teaching. You taught your kid how to wipe their butt. You taught your kid how to use a spoon. So you are qualified to teach. You can hire somebody or pay for somebody to support your teaching. But what our kids need today is not learning how to talk about how anxious they are or how sad or depressed they are. They need to learn how to overcome it. How to practice the life skills. Because, like I said before, I really believe the majority of kids today, they do not need professional therapy. They do not need medication. They need these life skills to get them ready for college. And if you have a kid, you're thinking about sending them away for college and they are not showing these 8 slides, can you bring up the other 2? You might want to say, hey, we need to put a timeout on that. Just go to one more slide, please. One more slide. One more slide. Okay, there's science that backs up that we need friends. We need to have more sideboards, overpriced Brussels sprouts, coffees with people. We need to learn how to teach our kids. If your kid says, I feel angry or sad, that's a good start. But you know what? I tell teenagers, look, there's a lot more emotions than feeling angry or sad or anxious. We know from science that there is beauty and there's power in naming your emotions, your negative ones, being specific, and sharing them with others. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. I don't have time for that. Next slide. Just the last 2, wrap it up. Self-talk, which the doctor talked about here, and self-care. Learning how to take care of ourselves. How did the big kid from Monte Vista overcome his anxiety? We started working out with weights numerous times a week. He started going for walks around his Danville neighborhood. He started to talk to his parents about what he's going through and how he's growing. He started standing up to some of the kids that were messing with him and saying, hey, I need you to please chill with that stuff. And he started having and practicing more of these life skills. Thank you guys so much for having me. Now we're going to hear from our guy. We also, all 3 of us have a table up here, so if you'd like to grab our business cards or some flyers, this is our website. You can grab our information from the table out there. We're also going to be answering some questions here. And if you'd like to talk with us, we'll be standing at our tables there. If you'd like to chit-chat with us about anything. I'm just going to jump in here while we wait for Judy. So tell me some of your reactions you see from some of the speaker listener sheet. Does anybody have any thoughts or about that or questions? Has anyone ever seen a document like that before? Something we do in my family sometimes is we'll break out the feeling worksheet around the dinner table. We'll say, hey, everyone pick 2 feelings and share a positive feeling and a negative feeling of what you shared today. We're going to nurture that type of emotional quotient conversation in the home. Thank you, Judy. Go for it.
Thank you, Tom. Can you guys hear me? Okay, can I have everybody, would you please stand up? Everybody just stand up for a minute. So our brain works better when we move around. Just move around a little bit, shake it out. We're not going to play any music. I just kind of want to reset you. You guys have heard from 2 really great speakers. I'm Judy Pearson, Kobsar. I'm from Wellness Method. I'm going to be talking about food and nutrition as it relates to stress and anxiety. Now, I would like all the adults to sit down. If we could just have the teens that are here stay standing. I just want to see how many teens are here. All right. All right, well, let me just tell you, good job for coming. I don't know if your parent dragged you here or if you came here on your own, but way to go. All right, when you learn some good stuff, you're gonna still learn some good stuff. All right, so high five yourself. One more thing I wanna tell you is this whole thing is for you guys, right? I'm so glad you're here. This is such an epidemic in our schools that I am surprised that this theater isn't full. Right? Aren't you guys surprised about that? Because it's a thing. So well done. You guys can go ahead and have a seat. All right. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our approach. I have 3 goals for talking to you in the next 18 minutes. The first one is going to be I want to help you understand how nutrition, nutrients, food, how that affects your body and your mind. Because your body and mind are connected. Second, I'm going to give you a couple quick solutions. A couple tools that you can maybe consider using right away. And then my third goal is I want you to take action. All right, what does that mean? That means that you have 3 very intelligent people up here talking about their expertise, really caring about your stress and anxiety of your children and of the teens of you that are here. So when I say take action, it means make a decision. Reach out for help from one of us, both of us, all 3 of us. And don't just, write your name down on a clipboard or take a card and then lose it and never, call. Like, really do it. Because what's the definition of insanity? That's doing the same thing over and over, right? But expecting different results. So I'm going to encourage you to take action tonight, okay? Whenever, these guys and myself are offering. Can you go back to the first slide? I haven't started yet. All right. Oh, actually I did. Second slide, go ahead. Second slide. Yeah, that was the goals. Go ahead, one more. All right, so I'm going to tell you about functional medicine. So I work in partnership with my husband, Dr. Bradley Kobsar, at our clinic here in Danville. We have a senior at Monte Vista High School, and she's right here in the front row. She's going to do a demonstration for me in a little bit. And what I want to tell you about functional medicine is it's not traditional, conventional medicine that your insurance covers. Functional medicine focuses on improving the function of the body as a whole. Okay? Which means we look at the underlying root cause of imbalances in the body. Stress, anxiety, depression, those things are imbalances. Those things can be caused by what's going on in your body, what's going on in your thoughts and your mind, what's going on in your life, because it's all connected. So our body is this beautiful symphony of systems from head to toe, I'm not leaving the brain out, right? That are all connected. And they work together. And when one of those systems goes out, it affects the other system. So I'm going to explain it with a picture, because, pictures are good, right? We don't get enough pictures in Facebook. It's all text. So next slide. So I want you to imagine your body as a house plant, all right? I know we're much more complicated than a house plant, but there's some similarities, all right? Our approach with nutrition and exercise and lifestyle changes and focusing on the body improving is that we look at the body and we want to determine what is interfering with the proper function of the mind and the body. What's interfering? We look at that, we determine it, and we remove it from the body. So the body and the mind can function optimally. And then we look at the body and we say, well, what is it lacking? Because a lot of times, depression, stress, anxiety, that comes from nutrients that are actually lacking in your body that your brain needs to function optimally. So then we look at, okay, well, what's it missing? Give the body what it's missing. So this plant, what's it lacking? Water, what else? Sun, one more? Food, nutrients, the soil, right? All right, now let's say that this plant lives in a house with a teenager from Monte Vista High School that drinks Red Bull. Nobody drinks that here, right? Okay, and they don't finish the Red Bull every day, they just dump it into the soil of the plant. Now we got interference with the plant, right? So let's say we give the plant sunlight, water, and nutrients, and we get the Red Bull out of the house, and we put pure, clean water, and that teenager's drinking pure, clean water. We've removed what's interfering. What's going to happen to that plant? It's going to do good, right? Next slide. It's going to thrive. That's the same as the human body. Next slide. Okay, we want to look at what's interfering with the body. Isn't that funny how we go to sugar next? What's interfering, and we remove it and give the body what it's lacking. So let's talk about sugar. Sugar interferes with the way the mind and the body function. All right? Sugar is addicting, just like cell phones are addicting. I'm going to have my daughter come up and do a demonstration, and while she comes up, we're going to head over here, go ahead and toggle through the slides. This is what sugar does to you. It increases inflammation in your body. It increases erratic brain cell firing. It's associated with depression, it increases triglycerides, and it increases the bad cholesterol. So it lowers the good cholesterol, right, that we need, that our body makes, and it increases the bad cholesterol. Come on over here, Sierra. It also feeds cancer cells. This is my daughter, Sierra. Everyone give her an applause for coming up and doing this. There was a study that was done, it was done at UCLA, that showed that sugar actually alters your brain waves. So your brain has different levels of waves, different speeds, and it makes the slow waves increase. Last slide, please. Did you know that the average American eats about 140 pounds of sugar a year? After all of this, and this is a short list, we're eating that much sugar. I want to give you an example of where your child, and let's be honest, you, are consuming a lot of sugar. And that is in Starbucks, right? Everybody goes to Starbucks, okay? This is just one of the places. So Sierra's going to do a demonstration for me. So, she is going to be putting the amount of teaspoons in a Venti, let's see, what's it called? It's called a strawberry cream Venti Frappuccino, right? This is the Venti cup. Strawberry cream Venti Frappuccino. She's going to put the amount of teaspoons of sugar in this cup that are in that drink. And as she does it, I want you guys to count. You ready? Here we go. 1, 2, louder. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do you think she's close to stopping? Yes. Count louder. 10. Do you think she's close? Yes. Do you think I should stop her? Yes. You want me to stop her, don't you? Yes. Because your kids are drinking this. And you're drinking this. Should I stop? Yes. I want to stop, but I can't. This is equivalent, thank you, Sierra. Everybody give her a round of applause. This is equivalent to a liter of Coca-Cola. All right, so here's what we're drinking. The brain doesn't function when we're drinking that. And the other thing that happens, next slide, you've seen this, I know you've seen this. This is an indication of how our brain lights up when we consume sugar in relation to how it lights up when we do cocaine. So sugar is addictive. You start thinking about it, it's an addictive substance that your body doesn't actually need. Our kids are consuming way too much sugar. We, adults, are consuming way too much sugar. okay? So, and Sean talked about this a little bit, we got to model in the home what we expect of our kids. If our kids are under a lot of pressure at school, their brain isn't firing, and you're drinking a, mocha chocolate latte, I don't know, I don't drink coffee, so I don't know, but, with 15 teaspoons of sugar in there, that's, they're gonna do the same. Next slide, please. Definition of food, we gotta eat food. Real food. Okay, there's a definition of food from the dictionary. Go ahead, next slide. That which is eaten to sustain life, provide energy, and promote the growth and repair of tissue. That's a cool definition. Food, real food, right? That's lean protein, that's seeds, that's nuts, that's vegetables, right? Oh my God, here we go. We're gonna talk about vegetables, right? Here's the granola girl up here, right? Everyone's like, Sierra's mom, she's so nutty. You gotta eat your vegetables. But this is what we're eating. Next slide. Does that fit that description? Yes or no? No. Next slide. How about that? How about next slide? What we're consuming here, I think there's ranch flavored Doritos in there for you, Sean. What we're consuming here is processed food, which is laden with chemicals, preservatives, and additives, and it's not food. How many ingredients do you think are in Doritos? Anybody? Throw out a number. 40, 30, I heard 34. None of which are actually food. Powdered milk, powdered cheese, lots of food coloring. Okay, that's not food. Your body doesn't know what to do with it. Your brain doesn't know what to do with it. Your brain needs nutrients to function. So that's why kids are experiencing brain fog and memory loss, and they're not learning at the rate that they should be learning. Okay, rule of thumb. Don't eat it if it has more than how many? 5 ingredients. Everybody say 5 ingredients. 5 ingredients. 34 is not good. Okay, not good. Next slide, please. The other reason why we need to eat real food and whole food is because we need to be nice. Our kids need to be nicer. Right? How many of you heard, leave me alone, shut my door, get out? I don't want to talk about it. Raise your hand if you've had that. Teenagers, raise your hand if you've said that to your parents. Yeah, there's my daughter, right? Yeah, I see you guys, you're like this. Yeah, I've done that. All right? We need to be nicer. Studies show that when we're eating processed food and we're consuming trans fats, that's linked to mood, irritability, lack of sleep, depression. Eat food, real food, mostly plants. I'm not a vegetarian. I don't believe that you should be one strict thing or another unless you have a health issue, right? And that's what you like. But lean protein, plants, nuts, seeds, food that comes from the ground, swims in the water, grows on a tree, flies in the sky. Good? Next slide, please. Lacking nutrients. Okay, so if we're eating Doritos and we had a Starbucks mocha chocolate latte frappuccino for breakfast, and maybe we get Chipotle, we have it DoorDash to us for lunch, so we get a little bit of lettuce in there and some beans maybe. And then because we're in sports or we're in dance or we're in something in the evening, we're kind of having maybe some kind of processed meal or something like that, we're going to be lacking nutrients. If we're not getting the nutrients that our body needs, it's not going to function optimally. God designed our body to function optimally. So if you're tired, and this, I'm talking to you too, parents, because, I didn't come here just to give you guys information, right? That's not going to do you any good. I don't want you to take everything that we say today and just go, that was good. Cool, that was good. No, I came here to change lives. And I'm going to speak for the other 2 gentlemen too. All right, it's my purpose, it's my passion. So don't just take this as information. Take this as the truth and know that something has to change. So lacking nutrients, one of the things that we do in our clinic that is super successful, and the teams actually like it, is that we do an online assessment to determine what their nutritional deficiencies are, and all the families that come in to work with us. And this online assessment can determine, based on how old you are, male or female, what ethnicity you are, if you're on medication. It takes all this information, family history of diseases, depression, anxiety, how high is your stress level, all these questions and it cross-references them. I'm going to get a little nerdy for a second, but it's important. It takes your answers and cross-references them with 10,000 third-party clinical independent studies to come up with a specific multivitamin regimen for you. Next slide, please. So here's the deal. When we're deficient in vitamins, first of all, we need to know what we're deficient in, right? And second of all, how much of that nutrient we need. So for example, if we're deficient in vitamin A, we're going to have health issues with our eyes. And we need our eyes to learn and see in school, right? Next slide, please. So what do? Here comes, the granola girl. Well, we have to eat green vegetables like kale, broccoli, and spinach. All right, spice it up, put some stuff on it. It's not that bad. All right, orange vegetables, carrots, sweet potatoes, and pumpkin, radish, yellow fruit. So we need to eat food, lots of different colors. Next slide, please. If we're deficient in vitamin C, which the majority of Americans actually are, because the prisoners in prison, as Sean said, are outside more than our teens are, which means I'm sure they're outside more than you adults are. We have to get vitamin D, so we need to get it through our food. Next slide, please. Through our food and through going outside, because a lack of vitamin D is linked to depression. And so many people are lacking vitamin D. It's sometimes a very simple fix. Depression can be caused by many different things. There's not one. Here's something that I need you to know about functional medicine is we do not prescribe medication. People come to us when they want to get off their medications, and they're able to do so. All right, medications, for the most part, masks the what? What do medications treat? The symptoms, right? There's tons of reasons why some child may be depressed, or you yourself as a parent may be depressed. It may be situational, right? Something happened in your family. It's the stress of school and work and raising kids. For students, it's the stress of peer pressure. It's the lacking of nutrients. It's the lack of sleep. It can be a combination of reasons. Yes, someone can have a chemical imbalance, but it can be a combination of reasons, but yet we're medicated with one pill to alter your chemistry and not look at the root cause of the depression. All right? And that's what we do with functional nutrition and functional medicine, is we need to find the root cause of the depression and the stress and the anxiety and resolve it at the root cause level. Next slide, please. So go ahead, next slide. So you gotta be on vitamins. I'm sorry, I hate to sound again granola, but you need to be taking a whole food multivitamin, every single one of you. You know why? Because you could be eating from the most beautiful Garden of Eden, like if you grew a beautiful garden in your backyard and you're eating from it, you're still not getting the nutrients that you need because our soil is depleted and we're lacking nutrients. Next slide. So, next slide. We each have to have individual, so, a lot of people, we say, are you on a multivitamin? They're like, yeah, I go to Costco and I get the Kirkland brand. You guys all know Kirkland brand, right? Kirkland makes everything. Toilet paper, toothbrushes, toothpaste, multivitamins. But you gotta have one that's specific for you. And that's something that we use in our clinic. Go ahead, next slide. Is we use a customized multivitamin because what we have found is that everybody's different. And you need a different regimen based on who you are. And kids need totally different regimen than adults do. The other thing that you can do, next slide please, is you can have some sort of a nutritious protein powder that you can make your child in the morning. So our kids leave the house drinking a shake, or as Sierra does, she drinks it on the way to school. But she's very safe with her driving. So some kind of nutritious shake, right, with some protein powder in it, some nutrition in it, some green leafy vegetables. They don't need a big old breakfast. They need to eat something. Next slide, please. All right, it's time to decide. It's time to decide if you want to continue on the path of insanity and knowing that there's struggle in the family, there's struggle with your team, there's struggle with yourself. And if you want to keep going in that way and doing the same things and not getting the same result, not getting the results you want, or if you want to make a change, okay? And so I want to encourage you to make a change. I want to encourage you to think about your child and them as an adult growing up in the future. And are they getting what they need from you now, right? But you also need to expect stuff from them. You don't want to baby them You want to teach them the skills about what they need. Next slide, please. And here's the thing. They need to know, and you all need to know, that you're the hero of your own story. And this is big for teens, man. They need to know this because they have stuff coming from all different directions, right? But they are the hero of your own story. Meaning, you're in charge of your life decisions, not, teenagers are still in the house, so you're still doing what we say, all right? But what you think about in your head, you're going to create in your life. So if you desire to turn your health around in your mind and your body, right? To lower your stress, to learn to say no, to be happier, then you got to start making some changes, and it might be some difficult decisions that you're going to have to make. But I'm telling you, it's going to pay off. So I encourage you to make a decision and then take action. All right? Everybody's going to have information. Next slide, please. If you're interested in getting in touch with me, I didn't bring pamphlets or handouts because I have a thing about recycling. Sorry, I'm just kind of anal that way, but I do have business cards. But if you are interested in getting in touch with our clinic, you can text right now. You can pull your phone out right now, and I won't think that you're not listening to me. But you can text our cell phone, the number's right there, and just put in NV. And so I know that it's you. The other thing is, whoever you talk to tonight, follow up, right? Their office or them, we're going to call you back. We're going to make our efforts to call you back. Don't not call us back, right? Like, take the time to make a change, and it's going to pay off. So I guess we're doing questions now, right? So thank you so much.
Have questions for them and would like to write them on your index card, if you'd like to ask them to Michelle, get rated, Kyle, the next rating out here. Anything that you can bring to me now, that would be good, and I'll start. This first question reads, my teens say the hardest thing teens deal with today is fitting in. What have you seen that works? My kids take social media off, turn off notifications, but in a few days I find they choose to turn them back on, and they know it's consuming, addicting. It doesn't make them feel good after a while, but it's so ingrained in their culture they get sucked back in. So this question is, what have you seen that works about fitting in? You want to say one thing about that? You don't have to, if you don't want to.
But fitting in.
Yeah, it says, the hardest thing teens deal with today is fitting in. What have you seen that works?
The most important thing is to develop 2 or 3 strong relationships, peer relationships, and have a couple of really good friends. Whether or not you fit in, I think that's always the question. The important thing is to have a couple of really, 2 or 3 or 4 really good friends. That's what, we're less about fitting in, it's more about bonding with 2 or 3 or 4 really good friends.
So create your own peer group.
I would respond to that by saying, I don't let my 2-year-old play with knives because I don't trust her. I don't let my 9-year-old drive the keys to my truck because I don't trust her. And I don't let my 13-year-old spend a whole weekend on a screen because I don't trust her. I just don't, in my opinion, there are a lot of teenagers who can manage screen time and balance screen time with social time well, but there are a lot of teenagers that cannot. So I do believe that these kids, whether they're 2, 9, or 13, or 7, or 16, they really need our help fostering balance in their life. And when they're out there doing activities, they're going to build friends, go on adventures, and make memories.
I would say one of the most important things is self-love. And that's not a hooey thing. But you have to teach your kids to love themselves, which means you have to model it. Sorry, we're just focused on root cause in our practice. And so it always comes back to modeling good behavior, and that is self-love. Because if a child loves themselves and is comfortable with themselves, they're going to automatically, by way of that, attract people to them and be attracted to people that are stable in that way. Because they spend too much time worried and focusing on how am I supposed to appear to everybody else. It starts here, all right? It starts with self-love.
Thank you. The second question, I don't know if any of you know the answer to this because it's asking what are safe exposure limits to EMFs, electromagnetic
0.
radiation?
I have no idea, but I would say 0.
Why do schools and dorms not set limits? I don't know if you guys know that. Exposure to electromagnetic radiation frequencies, like from screens, from phones, from TV, from hair dryers.
So I know that the distance needs to be about 3 feet. So I don't know the time limit, but I would say, again, 0. You never want to have, you don't want your kids to have their phone in their back pocket. You don't want girls to have it like in their shirt. I'm not even a big fan of the iWatches and all of that. You don't want the phone next to your body, okay? Sierra's stepdad, my husband, Dr. Kobsar, is adamant about that. And you want to make sure that it's like on the night table or on the floor, or or even out of the room, but make sure that it's not within 3 feet of your kids' heads, and goes for you too, parents.
I only got these 2 questions. We can take from the floor if you want to raise hands in the back.
On the 8 skills, life skills, we weren't able to talk much about the self-talk. Can you spend like a minute or 2 talking about the self-talk life skill?
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Richard talked about that a little bit. We need to help our children understand the most powerful voice in their life is their own voice. And so how they talk to themselves really matters because their voice is so powerful. I will be sometimes working with a kid who is just, or a teenager, so depleted. They're just like exhausted. It's like they've been bullied. And you ask them, have you actually been bullied? And they will say no. Then I have these exercises, or you can ask them as the parent, do you sometimes say this to yourself? How often do you say this? So help them to be aware of their self-talk and really turn those, transform that talk into true talk, which is really focused on self-love, appreciation, and love for others. Like how I want love for others.
That was nice. Very good. Any other questions from the floor? Oh, quick.
Half of the people, half of the teenagers who are asked the question about self-talk, they'll say, what are you talking about? Here's the thing to do. Model it. Talk about your self-narrative. Don't use the second person. Don't use third-person pronouns. Use first-person pronouns. And if you are candid and honest and vulnerable with your teen, they'll pick it up. And if you talk about how you struggle with critical inner narratives and how it's painful sometimes, they'll get it. Model it. Don't use second-person pronouns or third-person pronouns.
Well, are there any other questions from the floor? Sarah?
So I have a question, just kind of a follow-up to what you just spoke about. So when you're saying self-talk, is it also like telling yourself good things, how your teenagers tell themselves good things? Like kind of, maybe this is a silly question, but what's an example of self-talk? Like what would you say to yourself if you were talking to yourself?
Well, the example I used was if I get a 1.75, so what am I saying to myself? Am I saying I'm not smart enough, I don't belong at Brown University? The hell with that.
you know? The hell with that. It means I have to get my butt in gear. I have to get some help from people who understand what the skills are that I need to acquire. And that's exactly what I did. And so there's that interpretation moment. And again, I want you to model it. I don't want you to lecture to your kids. If you hear yourself lecturing, you're in the wrong place. Model it. You know what this is all about. You know what the self-talk is all about. If you model it, they'll pick it up. There's I hope my handout is around. We have an implementation group that you can sign up, $28. You can sign up as a parent support strategies, and we'll do a lot of this online.
I'll leave you with two quick ideas. You know, we have, one of the ways we discipline in our home is that we have our daughters write letters to each other. So if something happens, we'll say, I need you to write a letter. Positive letter, saying what you like about your sister, what you love about her. Sometimes we'll even say, hey, tell me some things you love about yourself. I have a daughter, probably a lot like one of your kids, is sometimes when she gets really emotional, she'll say really mean things about herself, right? And I'll be like, hey, don't talk about my daughter that way. And I'll just really focus in, you know. We don't have to be perfect presents, but we want to be present. And so if you see them spiraling in that talk, you know, you really use your power, because your voice is so powerful. Their voice is the most powerful voice in their life, but your voice is next. Your voice is so powerful. So speak up. Don't just say, I love you, kids, but really affirm what you love about them. Affirm their strengths and some things that, you know, help them nurture that self-talk.
We have 2 minutes before 8:30, so that could be one more question.
How do you deal with overachievers? So if kid is very high goals and anxiety is starting, then I'm not achieving what I planned for myself, and I'm afraid that will be the next year I will not achieve. It will be less successful than this year, right? So how do you go through that? How do you raise this successfully?
So when you talk about overachieving, it's related to success, right? So the child is wanting to be successful. So I think it starts with defining what success really is. So before getting into the nuts and bolts of that desire, you know, to achieve, what does success really mean? And when you really break it down into life, success starts with good relationships in your family, successful relationships with your peers. Success is a healthy mind and a healthy body. Success is, of course, a good income and good grades. Success is well-being and balance in your life. Success is variety, right? So defining in your home, because it's different for everybody. I mean, Sierra knows what success in our home is. And it isn't all about the GPA, and it isn't all about the college that she's going to go to. She does great, that's not what success is in our family. So you have to define, again, root cause always, what is success in your family, and then that has to be embedded in the child's mind. Because success isn't all about the college, the grades, the money, that sort of thing. Okay? Hope that's helpful.
Thank you. Did you want to say one last word on that? No? Okay. We are out of time, but I wanted to say what you need to do. I don't want to stop you. That's okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I just want to give one last hand to our and just thrilled that you guys could be with us tonight. And thank you to you. I think you should feel proud that you made it out on this very scary weather night. It sounds like maybe it's the right time that you could get to your car. So thank you, parents. I really appreciate your support.